Hello, it's Ricardo and welcome back to Elite Dangerous. Well, it turns out that Vanguards is no more. Vanguards was meant to be the new Squadrons, but now they've decided that Squadrons is the new Squadrons and they're keeping the name. With it as well comes an update on Elite Dangerous Squadrons version 2 along with a Squadron-sized fleet carrier. Ooh. So, Elite Dangerous Squadrons then. Squadrons is the new Squadrons, not Vanguards. Okay, that's cool. They kept the name because everyone was familiar with Squadrons. It had that affinity of language to be a communal group. I get it. Fantastic. Certainly saves an awful lot of messing about. It's still scheduled to come through in the summer of 2025 as well. And as they say, they're working really hard to get it in place. Some real humdingers here in what's happening with Elite Dangerous Squadrons, especially around a real in-depth view of how it's actually going to work. Frontier kicked off and locked with the usual stuff around Planet Zoo, Planet Coaster and all the rest of it, and that's fantastic. Elite Dangerous came in around about the half-hour mark and straight in with Curtis, and Curtis talking about the new interface for Elite Dangerous Squadrons. Here it is, and you can see creating a new squadron, 10 million credits. They made a big point. They wanted to make Elite Dangerous Squadrons user-friendly, appealing to new players. A lot of people have come into Elite Dangerous recently, whether they've had a hiatus for some years playing other games like Star Citizen, or whether they're new to the whole sort of like space game engineer. They wanted it user-friendly, they wanted it to be inclusion heavy with it. They wanted that level of inclusion in the game, a true level of in-game community. And they think that Squadrons, formerly known as Vanguards, which was formerly known as Squadrons, is the tool to do it. Frontier then decided to step through the process of how you do to create a squadron. And that's great. You get a squadron name, a squadron ID, a motto, a battle cry, something that your squadron can live by. I think the Ricardos gaming one will be how much? Anyway, also a little bit of free text field up to 500 characters where you can say what your squadron's all about and then select 3 activities as they've got here, but select as many activities as you want that you want your squadron to actually compete and start doing. They've got 3 selected, but as they said, you can select all of them if you want to be one of these squadrons about the galaxy. You can select your superpower, what supporting faction, what particular power you want to support as well, and then what your primary perks are all about. Now, perks was quite interesting. You have 2 perks, a primary perk and then a secondary perk. Now, Frontier gave a list of perks that you can select, whether they be primary and then what you want for a secondary. As you can see on the screen here, a mining fragment increase as a primary perk. Good if you're a miner. And then selling it as well for your faction perk would also then be a team trade dividends. So the primary perk seems to be linked to the main power, perhaps, and then the faction perk, whatever faction you happen to be supporting. They were a little bit vague on that, to be perfectly honest with you, and we've got to dig a little bit deeper. You also have the option to set the availability, for example, when you play online, and also the time zones of which the squadron operates. No good being in Australia and wanting to play when everyone seems to be in the UK, because you're going to be wrecked, let's face it. When creating your squadron in Elite Dangerous, you can align it to a superpower, the Alliance, Empire, Federation, or an Independent. And then once it's aligned to that superpower, you guessed it, you then align to a faction. The faction being the secondary perk, the primary perk evidently being aligned to the superpower. That's all good stuff. So you can set what you want your squadron to be aligned to. Good for them. Now, the idea of squadrons is also going to link very heavily into the new version of Powerplay version 2 that we've had playing with us for the past couple of months, which, to be fair, I think has brought a new element to the game. Here you can see they've aligned the superpower of the Federation, where the headquarters are, and then also good old Jerome Archer. Once you've set all your superpowers and your alignment and your factions, it's then on to selecting the primary perk we spoke about. And here on this screen you can see a list of some of the perks that they included in the work in progress mock-ups that we had. They do say it's not final and they could change, but let's face it, we're probably going to get exactly these, perhaps with one or two small tweaks. What's quite good for me, increased team rewards, bringing that community together, increased CQC. Oh my god, does anyone still do that? Decreased colonization claim costs. Ooh, well, you know, that's okay, but like, increased colonization commodities profit, that could be good. We are going to have to wait to see what the extensive list of perks are going to be, especially for primary perks, but let's face it, I'm quite interested to see how this is going to work out. I think it is going to encourage players to join a squadron. Whether it's in a private group or whether it's in open, I think this perk is absolutely cunning. A cunning plan, my liege, is what it is. Now Frontier have also included a logo creator. You can have up to 3 layers of logo. That one's a bit reminiscent of the old 1970s, early 1980s space Lego, don't you think? Anyway, whatever. You can have up to 3 layers, different colours and whatnot to identify your squadron on your ships, and you will get a ship decal. Now here's the thing, they're going to give you the icons, and that's not a definitive list of icons, just a test list. They say there's going to be quite an extensive list of icons and things you can merge together. You can't, however, user-generate your own icon, as in your own pictures, because who knows what you would have in the game. It is quite interesting to see what people are going to come up with and what you can pull out of this logo creator. No doubt there'll be an ARCs element to this if you want additional logos. Who knows? I'm just thinking, if they don't do that, my god, they've really missed a trick. But hey, whatever's going to be there, you can be able to identify your squadron with your own decal. And that's not to be sniffed at, and being multicoloured as well. Now they did say you haven't got to use multicolours, you can have all one colour if you want, and that's okay. It's all down to your all personal preference. Frontier then proceeded to show several screenshots of home pages and different home pages. This is create new squadron, so you're still going through the create squadron aspect of things, and that's all perfectly fine because you're confirming the details that you've put in before you lay out that 10 million credits. And then with your squadron created, it then is listed in the squadron list, where people can then apply to join your squadron. And applying to join a squadron, you can put certain applications and criteria in it. For example, you can search for squadrons that are into bounty hunting, into that combat, that sort of thing as well. So the search is going to be, I think, a good feature here as well. And you can set different filters. So if you want an Imperial mining corporation, well, there's going to be millions of those, but you get the idea, then you can do that and set various filters. And also search squadrons by squadron names. Once you've found the squadron you want, you can then apply to the squadron. You can also see who's in the squadron and view all the members. It's a really good feature of having the commander marquette, sort of like little portraits there as well, and you can check out what it's all about, along with the stats. So far it's shaping up to be okay. Clicking on apply to this squadron will then send the squadron leader an in-game message. Once that you've been accepted to this squadron, you then get the option of having a bulletin board. That bulletin board was already in the game, really, with Squadrons version 1, but they moved it from the comms panel into the squadron homepage, into the hub of the new version of Squadrons. And you can see here basically what you've got. There's a squadron bank, a little bit on that in a minute, and also leaderboards, ranks and permissions, what factions are aligned. All that sort of thing is included here on the homepage. I think that new post aspect of thing on the bulletin board and the squadron feed, where it is much better than it being in comms. Much better, and I think it's going to be much more accessible as well. Frontier then spent some time talking about leaderboards. Now, leaderboards were indeed in Squadrons version 1, and they've updated it in Squadrons version 2. On the left-hand side, you can see all the standings in relation to the activity they're doing. Illicit trading, CQC, combat, bounty hunting, that sort of thing. I don't see anything in there for on-foot gameplay from Odyssey, which is a shame. That might be an omission and what we're not seeing on the screen right now. Drilling into the different views, you can look at the member view as well, and then you get your name of fame in there for the high score you've got on your leaderboard. Taking a look at ranks or roles now here in Elite Dangerous Squadrons, you can see the different ranks you can get, and these can be quite diverse and granular, assigning people to different areas, a real level of granularity, giving people, as they say, clarity of purpose. Basically, you can really drill down to what different ranks in your squadron can do, whether they can deposit or withdraw from the bank, whether they can view the bank access. It could be somebody new joining the squadron. Are they an interloper from another squadron, come to destroy your squadron from inside? Who knows? Perhaps you want to give new recruits limited access to what they can do. Who knows? But then you get a bit of a tiered system. But then again, that's what ranks are really all about. Moving on from that as well, you can see the roster. These are the people and who's actually online inside your squadron. So there you go. You can see some of the details. People are online. When were they last online? You can see if people have been in a squadron, for example, and haven't been online for 365 days, they may want to be booted out. Who knows? It all depends how draconian and how totalitarian you want to be in command of your squadron. There's also the facility for a squadron bank. Yes, you can store credits here, but also commodities and ships and other personal assets as well. Look at the wallet they've got there. That's $1 billion, isn't it? Right? And look at the bank capacity that's currently being used. That's quite good, isn't it? The squadron inventory is a communal storage space for squadron members to donate, share and store ships and commodities. And depending on your role and your level of access, you can have access to it. Now, the squadron roles in command of the bank can also set how much people can take out over a period of time and then also deposit, which is quite good as well. Like they give the example of they may want to fund people's rebuys. A good example of this would have been during the Thargoid War. Let's go and give the Thargoids a good stuffing. Don't worry about losing your ships. We've got the money. Let's just get in there, get the pews on. That could be quite good, and works equally well with just standard bounty hunting in ships as well. You may want to fund people or give players access to certain commodities and ships, especially in support of system colonization, which I think is where this is really going to come into its own. And then Frontier blurted out, Squadron Fleet Carriers. Look at the size of that sausage. Much bigger than a fleet carrier. In fact, it's probably at least 3 times the size of it. If you look at that one wing there, that's typically what you get from one fleet carrier. This thing means you can get all your squad on there. Exactly how many ships this is going to build, not disclosed. But it does say it's going to be able to store money for the bank. How much is this going to cost you? We don't know. No idea. If you look at the standard 4 to 5 billion, depending on how things are going for the standard fleet carrier, this has got to be an absolute arm and a leg. It's going to have to be. I'd be very surprised. Very surprised as well if this comes with the 10 million setup cost of having a squadron in-game. Who knows though? Who knows? Here they say you can store ships as well in the bank for people to go and take out. You can't have any engineered modules on these ships that can be loaned out to other players. They say they can just be A-rated, so no engineering here. They give the example of saying if you want an A-rated Mandalay for someone to go out and have a go with, great. This is going to spawn, I think, people saying, hey, we've got the build here, try it out, what do you think? Do you like it? And perhaps having that customized ship build experience people can put in there. Now, whether or not players are going to be able to keep those ships or not, who knows? That'll have to remain to be seen. Perhaps there's going to be a leasing period. None of this information was actually disclosed. Anyway, Squadron Fleet Carriers. What a behemoth. Squadron details, banks, commodities, roles, leaderboards, bulletin boards. It's no longer called Vanguards, it's called Squadrons. Lots of information and no information on the Panther Clipper. All this coming next month, apparently. Oh well, there you go. We can't wait for the summer and see how this is going to affect the game, and no doubt the background simulation. How it will affect power play. How is it going to affect system colonization? If you're able to fill one of these big turkeys up with all the materials that you need and just basically support a player's colonization effort or a squadron's colonization effort. This could be the answer we've all been looking for. Who knows? Let me know what you think in the comments. Rambled on a little bit, but an awful lot of information to consider. I'll see you soon.